G'day guys, welcome back to Supercoach with DR and welcome to the Round 10 stock market video. Hope you've had a ripping week so far. Apologies for not getting the stocky out last week. As you know, have been spending a little bit of time in hospital, but fit, back on the horse now and very excited to deliver the stocky this week. I'm going to keep the intro pretty short, but I do want to say a big thank you to everyone in the community that sent me a lovely message, some well wishes. There's been some donations. Very much appreciated, guys. Thank you so much. You can see there we are supporting the Good Friday appeal. If you buy one of our Swordplay beanies from supercoachswordplay.com, we will donate $5 to the RCH. We've made over $100 for them so far, and we're hoping to get close to the 500 mark within the next month or two. So thank you to anyone that has been supporting us through the website. If you are interested in grabbing yourself a beanie, a t-shirt, a hoodie, a notebook, some really cool stuff there, head over to supercoachswordplay.com and get your hands on that. But back to the stock market video. We've got a couple of blokes right up there this week, Lockie Sullivan and my man Brucey Boy. Very, very controversial. Who do you go with here? Do you go with that mid-forward DPP in Brucey? Do you go with the mid-only in Sullivan, who's probably got the better scoring potential, better role, better tog? It's a hard decision, but I'll give my verdict on the two for you this week. Right in the middle, we've got my man, the magician, old man Zorko, playing some phenomenal football down back, and this could be the week to jump on because it's looking like he's going to be in our top three forwards, daylight below him. We've got Matty Roberts. Unfortunately, I think he may even be omitted this week. I'm not too sure what the team sheets are looking like, but I have got a message that's come through to me a little bit early saying that things aren't looking good for Matty. Whether or not that's being managed, omitted, I'm really not too sure. But if he does play this week, he's a must-trade out option for mine because he's now playing more of a wing role and just things aren't looking good. And things aren't looking good for my man Harley either. But in saying that, he's really done his job. If you think he can get back on the horse and get 100 plus score this week, sure, you can keep him, but for me, see you later Harley. It's time to either downgrade or upgrade to someone like my man in the middle. So that's it for the intro, guys. Hope you enjoy. You know where we start. It's with the 500k plus defenders. Let's get into it. So that's it for now, guys. All the best with your trade ins and your trade outs, and I'll see you soon in the next one. All the best. Bye. At the top of the list, we have the Peroxide Prince, Luke Ryan, 666,000. The number of the devil, 138 for a 3-round average, if you don't mind. A lowly break-even of 71, and we all know who he's playing this week. It's obviously the Saints, who have been notorious for leaking defensive points. If we look at his score last year, it's going to be very, very scary for non-owners. Now, the big issue here is, do we pay up at this price? I'm lucky that I own him already, but as a non-owner, it's a really tough decision because he could see himself above 700k in the next couple of weeks. You can see in the note symbol there, clearly the highest rated defender, and well, he has just been killing it. Now, last week, very controversial with his last quarter, on about 58, I think, at halftime, and ends up on a 110 plus. This is just what Luke Ryan can do. Has a really dirty role, doesn't he? The last one back all the time, takes the majority of the kick-ins, kicks it long, kicks it effectively to contest, intercept marks. The man really does do it all. So if you've got the money, if you need a defender, he is the man that I would pretty much call a must-have. Is this the week to do it? There's two ways of looking at it. Yes, because he's coming up against the Saints. No, because he's just priced too much. Surely he's going to come down again. So I think you need him at some stage. Do you bite the bullet this week? Completely up to you. Same as Dacos, I think. Very, very highly owned. Much more highly owned than Ryan. So not a lot of discussion. You just need him in your side. Maxi Holmes, a pod that's been on fire. Look, 105 isn't super, but again, for a defender, that's all you need for him to be a successful pick at the price. Break-in of 88. Could go there if you want. Jack Sinclair had a nice game, but then had a really low game. I just think he's going to be a bit of a roller coaster, and I'm worried about that. He has been playing through the midfield. We don't like that. We like him playing down back, so I'll just be passing, just maybe a bit of a watch for now, even though that break-even is in the green. Bailey Dale, well, do you go there now? I've got the 8 ball there because I think he's going to be a top 8 defender from here out. The issue is you're paying 100k more than what you were 2-3 weeks ago. So if you're a believer in Dale and you don't think you've missed the boat, then go for it, because I do think that he can average well enough from here. You're just not getting any value. Do you go 100 100k plus change and just go up to Luke Ryan. Up to you. Tommy Stewart, I think, is a great buy now this week. Now, a bit of a disappointing season to date from Stewie. Some people have said Max Holmes has been responsible for taking some of his points, but remember, this guy is absolute Supercoach rolled gold. Bargain, you're saving about 120, 130k off his original starting price. The break-even is in red when you look at that 3-rounder, but he's more than capable this week of going to 97. So I'm all for getting in Tommy Stewart. Up to you whether or not you want to go there yourself. Hayden Young, been up and down, hasn't he? A bit of a roller coaster type pick. Just one I'll be watching for now. A little bit too scared to invest. The Lizard there, really nice pod selection, but that 3-rounder of 91, we just can't have that in our defensive lines. Nick Martin with a 110 3-rounder. Absolute butcher last week. His fantasy score was decent. So, yeah, just reminding us of that round 1. Not as bad as that, but remember, I think he's going to be one of the top 8 defenders for us this year. You can either buy now, you can target, you can watch, whatever you want to do. I think he's going to be a solid selection. So, I'm all for Nick Martin. The issue is, he's close to 600k. So, look, to be honest, I'd probably give it a couple of weeks, see if we can get him cheaper, and then maybe look to jump on them. Lockie Whitfield is always going to worry me, but he's certainly going to be a target that you need to watch. 139 for break-even. Remember, he did get tagged by Jordan, I think, from memory, so that will be out of his system soon. A talented player, but do you really want to go there? I think he's a bit of a stressful loan, but certainly top 8 potential. Houston, I think, is pretty much a lock for the top 8. Interestingly, he's had his 2 lowest scores, I think, in the last 2 weeks, sub-ton, which we just haven't seen from Houston so far. So he's definitely one to keep on your watch list. I'd be happy to even bring him in this week if you really want to, but I don't think there's any need to with close to 150 break even. He's one that we just wait on, got a fantastic buy, and then I'm just happy to jump on after that. And Harry Sheasel, well, this could be an absolute disaster. Now, who knows what's going to happen with McKercher out of the side short term? Does he go back to his familiar role in defence? Oh, I certainly hope so, but Clarko's been keen to have him through that midfield. Bit of time up forward as well. Oh, it's just been so frustrating. 130, 113, 128, 124, 159, 110. We're thinking, here we go. Just top 3, lock it in. A safe captain option if you just want to fall back each week. Then we saw a 108 against the Crows, then a 73 and an 86. And this is no surprise that these have been the weeks where he spent most of his time through the midfield. Dang. We'll talk about the Fish in a sec, but yeah, there's no surprise there's been a correlation between Fish going right through the roof and Harry Sheasel going right down to the floor. So if he doesn't play in defence, I'm not going to call him an absolute dead pick, but he is in a way because I just don't see him as a top 8 from here out. That's why I don't even have the 8 ball there. In current form, in current role, and it's not Harry's fault, I just don't see him mixing it with the big boys. So Clarko, do us all a favour, mate. Put him back, forget this midfield forward experiment, and help out our Supercoach sides, because a very highly owned player will be a pod move to jump off. But imagine if you did, and they chucked him straight back. You'd be absolutely kicking yourself. On to the defenders, 250 to 500k, and up the top, we've got Colton McKercher. I tell you what, super unlucky if you trade him in the last week or two. Look, he has made some nice coin. You can see a negative break even. Look at that 3-round average, 109 if you don't mind. That is the top of every player on this list. However, the poor bloke is injured now. He's definitely out this week. After that, I'm not too sure. So if you've got some more info than me, then go with your gut. I know Janeth's trading him out. Spills is keeping him. So the decision is yours. If he's out for a week, I think he's an absolute hold. But if we still don't know and then this drags on, yeah, it could be a mini disaster with so much cash and potential just sitting on your bench. So up to you with Colby. Very team dependent, I think, this one. Now, Nicky Hind, very low break even in the negatives there. But remember, Essendon do have some defenders to come back. You know, Reed, Ridley, not exactly the same type role, but I think he's someone that could easily get squashed out. So I've got the trap symbol there. He's a pod. Hey, if you feel lucky, go there with Nicky Boy. But I just smell trap with this one. Will Graham, super frustrating because a low break even of 12, but just not getting himself back in the side at this stage. I thought he was unlucky to get omitted or managed, whoever they want to dress this up as in the first stage. But yeah, it's a tough one. I think that he's actually okay to trade if you haven't got anyone else that's right ready at the moment. It's shocking to say that because he's got a low break even, but if your team's going that well and he's a bloke that you just need to get rid of, I still think it's okay. Jaden Short, 18. Look, there's Short, Crisp and Chapman here, who I've got the money-making sign as well as the pass because I'm just not too sure on these blokes. Crisp has that nice DPP status, and we've seen him average really well or enough to be a premium defender for us in the past. A bit of a new type role as well. But the issue here is with other guys coming back in soon, I just don't know about the pick. I haven't got enough info. I haven't got a great gut feel about it. So Crispy for me is a pass. Look, Short, 382, a super disappointing season to date. The issue here is just the trust factor. 382, he could be the absolute bargain by the year if he turned things around, but I just don't see him doing that, unfortunately. A lot of ball will be in the Tigers' defensive line, you would assume, though. And Heath Chapman, a decent price there, but it's too awkward. None of these blokes I don't see as keepers. At best, we're talking like a luxury, maybe swing with a crisp, D7 type selection here, but do we really want to be looking at D7s now? Probably not for me. Richards is a super interesting one because a break even of 27, he went bananas in the midfield last week. Libba is out for the short term. They'll be keen to play him there. He gives them a bit of a different look. Was last week just a bit of an outlier, just played out of his skin. Look, it's possible, but he could be a pod selection that could absolutely send you rising. I'm actually really interested in Ed Richards. I just don't have the kudos to go there, and I did invest in Bailey Dale recently. So for me, it's a no. But if you really want to go there and you believe in him as a midfielder, then I think it's fine. Closes an easy hold with a break even of 30. Unfortunately, had him on the bench for his 100 plus last week. Most of you would have had him on field though, so fantastic from Closey. He's reset that break even. If he had have had a bit of a dud score, he was most likely a trade out for us this week, so that's really nice. Bonner, again hit back last week, 3-rounder of 91, 33 for a break even. He's turned out to be a pretty good selection, to be honest. Wanganeen Miller is probably the bloke on this list who I see as a keeper for the rest of the year. Possible 8-ball here. Best case scenario. Got a nice Marvel run coming up, a talented player. We know that Sinclair's been playing that midfield role. He's not going to be moved out of this role. There was a stage last week, I was watching the game just for a short period of time. I reckon he gave about 5 dummies in this piece of play. He's just such an elite decision maker, an elite user of the football. He's going to be a superstar for the Saints. They'll definitely want to hold on to this young man. So if you want to invest in a bit of a pod who you think can really make that step up into that next echelon, and I'm talking maybe the 6 to 10 mark here, then I think you can go for it. Low break even, in form with a 103 3-rounder. I don't mind this selection at all. Buku, I think he's on the chopping block along with Blake Howes. Look, 55 and 65 isn't that bad, but as you can see from the 3-rounder, that is actually in the red. So do what you want to do there. And Madry Roberts, for me, I think is an absolute trade out. 124. Oh, look, what do you do here? Well, look, I'm just going. I'm going. He's got that wing role now, playing more up the field. So for me, Matty Roberts is a sell. Thank you for your service, son. Adios. On to the defenders under 250k. At the top, we have Likalia. Has a chance to burst his bubble this week with some GWS injuries. If he does, you could look at him, but you will need to be confident on some short-term job security at least. I'll just be waiting for the team sheets. Holders of the Sexy Beast, we have been vindicated. I was jumping up and down with joy when this bloke was selected. As you can see from the symbol, he has risen again and officially back from the dead. Started the season in the side, was dropped after a poor game, sent back to the VFL to work on some deficiencies. Dimmer has been impressed with him and offered him another opportunity with Powell out, being a bit of a naughty boy, and obviously Atkins underperforming. And look, Sexy Man for now has taken it, and 80 plus on the weekend sees his break even remain in the negative territory, and he could even be a fieldable option at F6 or D6, depending on opposition matchups, your own team structure, etc. As a trade-in option, it's still a little bit hard to trust at the price. I think you may have missed the boat here, but if you are a believer and have another bloke with that defensive forward swing, it could swing you into bringing him in, but yeah, so current owner, I'm just wrapped that the man is back for now. And Archer and Curtin are both bubble passes for me. I rate Curtin as a better player. got a big future, very, very talented, but he isn't a cheap rookie, and we can well and truly wait on that break even. A sub risk is another red flag, so pretty easy pass for me. Very talented player though, and I'll still be tracking him. On to the midfielders, 500k plus, and to be honest, I'm not going to give a heap of detail here because with a lot of these players, it seems to be the same story week after week. I'm more going to take a look at the notes section. So with Matty Crouch, he's been pretty rock solid lately. Lots of looking to flip him probably at his buy. But at the moment, 533,100 with a break even of 67. He is the ultimate hold. Been a really nice selection if you started with him. JHF, he has the welcome sign there because he now sees himself just by $200 above the 500k mark. Although I don't really like him as a selection, very inconsistent and certainly won't match it with the big boys. You want to get in his teammate in Zach Butters, 621,200 facing the Hawks this week. Had a magnificent score, 140 plus the week before. So if you don't own Zach Butters, he's one of those guys that could absolutely destroy you. With a break even very much in the green of 82, he's projected to go 133 this week and will rise around 23k. So before you know it, he may be at above the 650k mark. I think this is the ideal week to get him in. Jackie Steele, well, tell you what, been frustrating for me because I actually traded him a couple of weeks ago, which was probably a bit of a silly move, but I did know that he was coming up against some pretty weak opposition. Now that he's facing some tougher opposition, we'll see how he goes. But apparently the strapping was off last week, and that's why I got rid of him. I just didn't want to hold an underperforming primo when I could upgrade to someone that's in great form, healthy, fit and firing. So I do regret that slightly, but at the same time, I do have some slight reservations about the pick. I'd much rather go up, pay 70k more for your Butters, but he could work out. Very highly owned player anyway is Jack Steele. The bomb, close to being back to his best. 634k is actually a steal, I think, for Bont. You look at Butters and Bont, 82 and 84 for a break even. You're not going to see that too often. So with a projected score, a modest one of 116, he'll be above 650k again. So I think this is the ideal time to jump on the Bont if you don't have him. Lachie Neale had a bit of a down game last week after a massive 160 the week before. Again, he may suit your buy structure. He will be coming down in price again after that big one goes out of his system. So for me, he's probably an after buy purchase. But in saying that, he comes up against the Tigers and then the Hawks. So he could go absolutely bananas. He could also be a pick this week because although that lower score will be in his system, I expect two bigger ones to be in there in the next couple. So actually, I think he's fine to buy this week, Lachie Neale. Adam Treloar, I'm just giving a bit of a shout here because look at that 3-rounder, 118. You should check out his average, and I won't go into it now without Libba because I don't see too many players actually jumping on Treloar. He's certainly a pod who is on fire at the moment, but I'll always have the worried symbol there because of his durability. Those Amis could just twing at any second, and that's the thing that worries me when I'm paying over 600k for him. But a phenomenal season, a great pod, Adam Treloar. Track, I think, was actually underscored with his 134 last week. Without him, they just would not have been in the game. He just carried that Melbourne team, and I was planning on getting him last week, which is a little bit frustrating for me. But with a break-even of 88, if he suits your buy structure and you're not overly confident on Clary, this is the ultimate week to get Track. You are getting a bargain if you look at his starting price. So I'm all on the Track selection. Caleb Serong, wowee. The issue is you're paying up almost 670k in saying that he could be above 700 very, very soon. He's the ultimate Uber, a buy now pretty much at any time because he is close to a midfield must-have, looking to really sew up a top 4 average this year. Well done, Caleb. And LDU, well, you can see the symbol there. It is a pass for me as a buy, but I do have the empty wallet symbol. If you're struggling and you think that 3-round average now being over triple figures is good enough for you and you are expecting more of a spike from him as the season goes along, then go for it. But for me, those midfield spots are extremely precious and I wouldn't be trading in to an LDU at the moment. If you got him though, certainly keep on to him in my opinion anyway. Joshy Dunkley, so this bloke interests me probably more than what Lachie Neale does. He just won't cop the attention in saying that he actually gives some opposition teams attention. We saw what he did to Real the other week. So I really like the Dunkley selection, 105 for a break even. He could go bananas again over the next couple of weeks. If you want to wait till after his bye, that's fine as well, but you will be paying up for him. Yeah, I like Dunkley as a selection, and a big pot as well. He's the type of player that you could jump on if you really want to try to rise in the ranks and go a little bit different from the crowd. Jordan Dawson just continues to haunt me. If it wasn't for him last week, we would have steamrolled the Crows. He played a phenomenal game, a big part of their goals, inside 50s. Yeah, fantastic from him. I think 3 out of the last 4 goals may have been almost direct goal assists from Jordan Dawson kicking inside that dangerous range. So he continues to haunt me because I was always getting him over Sam Walsh and obviously had my fluff up, one of my rare fluff ups. So it is what it is. The value is not there now. He hasn't even got a wonderful CBA role, but he has been much more damaging by foot. So Dawson at over 600k was a great buy a few weeks ago, but just not now, I don't think. Laird is starting to really step up his game. Exact 3-rounder as Jordan Dawson, unless I've made some sort of mistake there. So very much on par, these two blokes. He's cheaper than Dawson, but he is older than Dawson. Seems to have those CBA numbers back up again. You may want to go there again. This would be a lone wolf move because he's very much a pod, particularly in the top 1 to 5%. Sam Walsh just been continuing on. 119 last week was all decent from him. Rock solid, but I'm worried. Always will be worried about his back. Touk was the best scoring Gold Coast midfielder last week, albeit he's lost half his CBAs to Alex Davies, so that is very much a concern in itself. I'm not really sure what happened with the numbers last week. Much better than Anderson, much better than Rao, but with Davies in the side, his CBA rate was a 40 to 50% mark. That is probably not enough for me. But again, he still scored well without it. So go for it if you like, Touk Mill. I know my man Janeth jumped on the week before. Paddy Cripps, a pot at 578k, a 3-rounder of 105. The break-even certainly in red. I wouldn't be going there myself, but in fine form is Paddy and had a really, really solid 2024 season. Errol's been really disappointing, was contemplating starting with this bloke, but just hasn't really delivered. We'll think with blokes like Parker out of the side, Adams out of the side, that he could really step up. Hasn't really been the case, but he's got a massive ceiling, and again, if you want to go different, you can go him. Zeret is a very, very popular option at the moment. Don't worry too much about that break even because his upcoming month in regards to his fixture is absolutely fantastic. So for me, Zeret is very much a trade-in option. Playing North this week, you could chuck the captaincy on him if you want. Really like Zeret. Noah Anderson, I'm just not really interested in at the moment. I've just got the binoculars there, similar to an Errol Goulden. Super talented player. They're at a very similar price. Look at the 3-rounders as well. Only 3 separating them there. So do you like your Errol, your Anderson, someone different, maybe a little bit cheaper? You can, but just not for me. I was actually really impressed with the Green Machine last week. There was a high possibility that he was not going to get up. So what was the 116, I think, from memory? That was fantastic for a bloke that we thought, yeah, wasn't even going to play at stages. The week before, obviously had that 5. Really, really disappointing. He was super value as well. Just unlucky with that injury. You see that break-even 180. Look, you can certainly wait on this, and I probably would. I'll be waiting another week, but he could get under 500k, and that will be up there with the biggest bargains of the season. And Matty Rao, what a fall from grace. Cop attention from Dunkley when they played the Lions, and then Big Bad Willie Phillips, who I think will probably be omitted this week, actually did a fair job on him. Oh my goodness, what has happened to Matt Rao? Even if news came through that Phillips is going to be tagging him, are we really that worried? Probably not for me, but a break-even of 192 sees him under 600k for what seems like the first time in a little while. So for me, I'll very much be monitoring Matty Rao. The issue is, personally, he doesn't fit my buy structure. He's got the same buy as your Zerets, as your Tracks, as your Walshes, so that's a little bit awkward for myself, but if you're looking to trade into that buy, wait a couple of weeks because he could be a bargain. I still see him as an elite Uber mid this year. You can see in the symbols there in the notes section, the Uber tag, the tag symbol, unfortunately over the last couple of weeks, but also the target symbol, a great trading option once those low scores get out. On to the midfielders, 250 to 500k. We've only got 4 names on the list here because I think it's a bit of a dangerous price range when you are looking for one of those really precious midfield spots. So at the top, we've got Old Man Steel Sobon. I was listening to Lee Montagna talk about his game on the weekend, and he was really impressed with his shift down back. Obviously, he's an elite user, elite decision maker. We've all seen the older players like Kepler and Zorko also flourish in a similar role. The issue is Does Fly actually persist with this role for Steele? If he does, he could be a decent pickup at the price. It was his 10th highest rated game for the past few years. Unfortunately, I think it'll be a little bit too late to attain DPP in the next round of changes. He's had a very subpar year to date. He's way past his best, but his score on the weekend was very nice. At his age, and given the fact that he's a mid only, I could see this as a mini trap. I've got the Mr. Burns symbol for the old man there, as well as a role reversal symbol, given that he's been playing down back. So some positives as well as some negatives. If he was a forward or a defender, I may look to take the punt, but as a mid only at the moment, I just can't do it. Jeremy Sharp played a ripper on the weekend, now reset his break even, so an easy hold for now. Has a good buy as well. So if you can hold that long, you could potentially use him as cover. We may just have to cash him in beforehand, though. Just, play the break-even game maybe with him. Newcomb, he's a pot under 500k that could deliver some nice scores, but for me, the floor is a little bit too low to give him one of our precious mid spots. A lone wolf move for sure, and maybe I need to give this selection a little bit more respect. And Clary actually passed the eye test for many on the weekend, although his score of 87 isn't anything to write home about, but did lay 8 tackles, got some contested peel, and it was really the clangers that hurt him, I think. I'm hoping he goes absolutely bananas against West Coast, gives us a nice ceiling score. So I think he still provides excellent value for potential, and I think it's okay to jump on. On to the midfielders under 250k, and at the top of the list we have mature ager Lockie Sullivan, another illustrious member of the Goal With Your First Kick Club. He has a 3-round average of 75, a break even in the negative 90s, which means he's one of the more obvious bubble boys this week. Keeping in mind as well that he actually started as a sub in that first game, playing through the midfield, getting some CBA minutes in the absence of Titch and De Goey. Remember, De Goey is back this week, I've heard, so I have to see what team selections look like. And there probably lies a little red flag. How long does Lockie actually have left in the senior side? Many think when Titch gets back, he could be Gonski. In saying that, he could make 100k in 2 weeks, which may be a quick hit that satisfies you enough, considering his rookie baseman price. He has the scoring potential to put some quick points on the board, but again, he did play West Coast last week. He's a mid only, which may hurt if he gets dropped, and you won't say, what, a Clark, McAuliffe type combo. Time on the ground is okay, seems to have an impact as a red hot crack when he's on. If you think he keeps his spot for the next, let's just say 3 weeks, he's almost a no-brainer, but I'm finding it hard to get a read on his job security. But in my opinion, one of the top 2 rookie buys this week. And next up is Jai Clark, the definition of a slow burn, and to be brutally honest, a super disappointing rookie, just a failed pick. Had a nice game a couple of weeks ago, but apart from that, hasn't done anything of note. You can't trust him on field, so just hope to make a little bit more coin whilst his break even is rarely in the negatives. Really bad if you went early, unless his loop has allowed you to win some sort of rookie roulette. K. McAuliffe, I tell you what, if he can't get a game this week, his future is in big trouble. The Tigers have just got the bare bones remaining on their list to select from, and again, if he doesn't get a gig, I'm officially adding him to the dead rookie list. And as you can see, J.Q. Rogers has the rest symbol on him this week because he's being managed. Frustrating as he looks to be a slow burn type rookie. Will also not be eligible for DPP in the next round of changes. If he had played this week, I think it would have been, again, very frustrating for owners. He's got a relatively low floor. We have seen a bit of a ceiling game, but I think that may have been more of those once-off type games where the Suns absolutely dominate the opposition. So I think you'll need him just to beat up on the easy teams if he comes back. But for now, I think you can just use him as a loop. On to the big boys in the ruck, and Jordan Sweet left a rotten taste in the mouths of his owners last week, particularly those who had him at R2 with no backup. But in good news, he should hopefully be right for this week and continue to make us bulk cash. Coming up against Meek, should score pretty well. I'm aiming for a nice, say, 95 plus from Sweetie. Big Romo has been an absolute roller coaster this year. Low scores of 51 and 63. High scores of 147 and 164. That is a huge range. At 525k, he's lost over 100k off his starting price, and this could potentially be as low as he gets for the rest of the year. He set records for contested possessions last week, was an absolute beast, but then again, a couple of weeks ago, looked like he'd fallen off a cliff and a really obvious trade-out target. But again, 2 weeks on, he's on the radar again. If you need a ruck, this is a week to trade him in, and think he's top 3 for mine anyway. I'd be holding both Meek and Grundy, as the symbol suggests. Just no reason to trade them out, and they're in decent form. Dogger is simply a hold due to his low price and DPP status. He did save many from a donut last week, provides good cover, has a great buy. Unfortunately, he just doesn't look like scoring 100 plus anytime soon. Seems like a bit of an 80s to 90s type man at the moment, and very disappointing, particularly as an owner myself, that he didn't cash in last week when he had the number one rock roll when Shrek was out of the side. Don't know if Shrek is back this week. As a Dogger owner, I hope not, but really, he has been pretty disappointing this year. As Sherry's another hold for mine, but you could look to flip him out before two relatively hard matchups before his bye. But again, been a fantastic selection for those that went there. Tim English seems to be the consensus R2 for most. Now almost 100k dearer than Marshall, but you are buying a quality player. Still very much discounted off his starting price. Lots of people think he was underscored last week, including my man Janeth. So I wouldn't worry too much about that score. You don't have to jump on now because his break even has gone back up again, but definitely one that I plan to bring in at the right time that suits me. 119, 138, 124, 117, down for 58, back up 114, 134, 135, and again that 87 last week. For me, that's great. No real ceiling score to date, and I'm talking nice 150 plus like we've seen in 2023. But Timmy's still doing a fine job. Should score pretty well against Briggs this week as well. And Big Maxi, well, as a big break even, but to be completely honest, I wouldn't be surprised to see him go close to hitting it against the Eagles ruck division. Some scaling from late goal really saved him from a sub-ton score last week, but he's the man we all need at R1. As a non-owner, it's probably too much to pay, and you're just praying for a down week or two, but as an owner, he's right up there with my captaincy options this week. He doesn't have the best history against West Coast, but keep in mind, he was up against Nick Nut for some. Come on, let's go, Maxi. Smash that break even and give us a nice double ton this week, mate. On to the forwards, 500k plus, and at the top we have the Magician Dane Zorko. He's starting to make waves, and the whole Swordplay crew are looking to trade him in this week. We know what the red flags are. I don't really need to go over them. Age, durability, the NDHP factor pretty much sums it up in a nutshell. The ultimate risk versus reward pick, but I actually see the reward outweighing the risk. I can't believe I'm saying this, but his role's superb. I really don't see it being messed around with. You know, Connor McKenna last week was beyond awful, and Zorks is 10 times better. He's a beautiful user, loves to kick the football, usually makes smart decisions, has an attacking mindset, and he's running extremely well with his new needling treatment. It's been working wonders for him, and the eye test as well as the raw data suggests like he's playing like he's 28-30 again. The other thing to note in regards to durability is the fact that he's in now more of a seagulling role rather than getting banged up in the midfield. That's perfect for his older body, having more of a bruise-free role. And in Brisbane's current position, we can't afford to be resting players of Zorko's quality. If we were flying, I could see him maybe being subbed early in a big win, but not really with the way things sit. His upcoming fixture looks to be extremely friendly, and keep in mind, he does have that early buy. Issue is, if you wait until after his buy, you're likely purchasing him at a price tag above the 600k mark, which I really wouldn't be comfortable with. I think it's already high enough with these red flags that we've got. So if you aren't willing to risk it, I get it, but he's clearly in the top three forwards, and the drop-off after him is massive. I think it's Heaney, Flanders, Zorko, and then absolute daylight. And possibly after the daylight, we could see a name such as Isaac Rankin. He's been a very, very interesting player to take a look at over the last couple of weeks. He lit it up, sorry, that's not great grammar, is it? Lit it up against my boys last week. Phenomenal footballer, and the most pleasing thing from a Supercoach aspect is that he's fixed one of his major issues, and that's consistency and floor. The Rankin floor has risen in 2024, and aside from a 68, every score has been above 80. 24 touches, 3 goals last week was his best performance of the year, and he has been dealt a really decent upcoming fixture as well. Collingwood, Hawthorn, West Coast, and Richmond in the next month, and if we're ever going to see that ceiling, I think it could be in the next 4 weeks, averaging 37% CBAs across the season with a season high of 76%, season low of 11%. He's kicked a goal in every game bar one, including 3 lots of 3 and a season high of 4 last week. So having impact through the middle as well as up forward. Here are his stats from, from its round 5. Stats and averages from round 5. 17.4 disposals, 9.4 contested, 2.8 goals, 1.2 score assists, 3.4 tackles, and 110 Supercoach points. If Zorko wasn't available, then I'd likely look to bring him in. You aren't getting a lot of value at the price, but if you do consider his potential ceiling scores against his next 3 to 4 opponents, he could actually be good value in the short term. He's a really talented player, as I mentioned, only owns by 5% of teams. So he could be someone to rocket you up the ranks, or on the other hand, just another flawed plotter. The choice is yours, but he's looking good. Dylan Moore came back down to earth last week, which was really disappointing for those who did jump on. Was a forward flavour of the week, but that torch has been passed to the two men that I've just talked about in Zorko and Rankin. Probably doesn't offer the value to warrant selecting him this week or the next. Maybe just wait it out, jump on at a friendlier price if you can. Should still be a really solid option, but I don't think he'll be near the absolute top tier. And Flanders and Heaney, both absolute musts in every definition of the word, guaranteed for that F1, F3 spot this season. And if you don't own them by now, it would be very, very painful. On to the forwards, 250 to 500k. And James Harms is at the top list this week. Played out of his skin on the weekend, a big 139 after a decent score of 9 against the Hawks a week before that. 27 touches and 4 snags was elite, but for me, he's got trap written all over him. His only real decent scores have come against the Hawks and the Tigers, who are probably the worst team in the comp at the moment. Does anyone else see him collecting 25 plus touches and 3 goals against the Giants or Swans in the next 2 weeks? Certainly not for mine. And to be honest, he doesn't have to replicate last week's score for this to be a decent pick, but who knows what his role will be from week to week with Bevo as his coach. There are too many dogs that will eat up the Supercoach pie for mine, so I'd be staying right away, as James could be very harmful to your season. That's terrible. I went with it though. But now that I've said that, watch him kick a bag of 5 against the Giants. Pete Ling, a Giants man himself, looks to be a decent type player and has 2 nice scores in his system. The main issue for me is that sub risk. With Jelly out for 6 and other injury issues, there is a chance he could get a decent run of games. If so, he could make some nice coin, but do we really want to pay almost 300k for a stepping stone in round 10? Not for mine. I'd rather go all the way down to rookie under, say, 130k and actually make some bank. But if you're more confident on him than me and have a better read, follow your gut, feel free to have a crack. Oh, the Fish. He's now a big talking point in the community, and we all know why. It's no surprise to see his scoring spike as soon as the Sheaves gets moved into the midfield. He's now getting kick-ins, back to his pre-season roll down back, but how long for is the question. It helps with Kirch out for sure, but Clarko could easily put Sheaves down back again, which would be a disaster for Fish when Kirch does return. You can link with a Combin, Sexton, Karmas type for extra security with that DPP. There is a bit to like, but he's already burnt me, and I'm not playing with fire again. It could work for sure. If he keeps a roll, if he has a monopoly on those kick-ins, 95 followed up by 140 with possession counts of 30 and 34 in the last fortnight, that certainly gives you hope that this could work out. You can certainly buy now if you want to plug a hole, maybe even pray that he keeps his role and becomes an outside chance of becoming a keeper, particularly in our forward lines. But again, don't be surprised on the other hand if you need to correct this trade. He isn't the best player I've ever seen and has already donned the sub-vest in 2024. So feel free to get him in, but at the same time, tread with a bit of caution. Darcy Wilson, he's such an elite rookie, giving us on-field gold. The only player here on this list with a triple-figure 3-rounder. That says it all. Hold, field, continue to enjoy the ride. Kyle Lohman, he's been loving getting some full games, and congratulations. I really rate him as a player, and I think he deserves it. Janeth actually picked up on a great stat the other night in the Swordplay potty, and that's why you got to tune into this podcast, because Kyle Lohman has scored 88, 81, and 98 in his 3 wins this season. So the man is certainly a bit of a flat track bully. Loves when the Lions are in form. The Lions fixture is really nice for the next couple, so it seems against the Tigers he may actually be a fieldable option, so a certain hold and a possible field for this week. I knew Combin would go nuts last week because I traded him, so oh man, it's so frustrating, isn't it? I'll get so many average scores and then he goes close to the ton. A massive first quarter, slowed up a little bit in the second half, but intercepted well with some of those intercept marks contested. That's absolute Supercoach gold. His break even is down again, so hold for at least the next couple and then reassess. He's a handy link as well, and I've mentioned this a few times already. If you've got a Sexton or calmest type as those defender forwards. Sam Darcy did it all last week in the Dogs' demolition job, contested marks, hit the scoreboard multiple times, kicked really straight. This guy is a gun, and all of a sudden is a definite hold for the next couple, while that one big 113 is still in his system. This is exactly what we needed. Keep in mind, though, the opposition does get tougher. And Lafau is now done his job for mine. I can't see a big one against Lions at the Gabba, so perfect time to sell and cash him in. Remember, we have seen some really low scores from him. If he gives us one of those, then he's an absolute must trade out the week after, so I'll just get rid of him now. He's done his job, a really nice buy at 102k and made his owners over 175k. So well done, son, but I think it's time to say goodbye. Tommy Powell's been pretty disappointing, now down to 383,200. You can see the break even is now in red, and that's only a 69. So I think his 3-round average really does reflect the way that he's been playing. The other week, completely lost that midfield role. I got scared and decided to trade him out. I think that was probably the right decision. Look, if you're an owner, it's probably a hold for now with that 69 break even, but if you don't have the confidence that he can deliver you any type of decent score, then you may want to just move him on, I think. Cadman is certainly a hold. Poor old Spills had him on field for, what was it, a 12, 13, 14 type score. So he has absolutely done his job for us this year. But as you can see in the notes section, certainly time to move him on. Along with Harvey Thomas, his break even is even higher after a sub game. I've got a feeling that there may be the chance that Jones gets rested. Maybe Thomas does get a full game because Jones has now played 3. Didn't perform overly well the week before, but too risky with that really high break even. You compare that to the 3-rounder, it's just not good. But in saying that, he does have a bit of a decent ceiling and been known to give a spike game from time to time, but the play is to just move out Thomas. Jack Macrae, I would just not be looking at. He doesn't excite me in any way, shape or form, Jack Macrae. Look, don't get me wrong, got a chance to finish around the top 6 if things go really, really well from here, but with Bevo as coach, he's getting older, and I think that I may have even been a little bit harsh on Bevo because I think that Jack Macrae, he just doesn't look like the Jack Macrae of old. And look, that's a bit of an obvious thing to say at his price. He hasn't fallen off a cliff. He can provide really good value to the side, but nothing like his heydays. Just not interested in Jack Macrae. I am interested in Charlie Curnow, not now, but probably after the bye. It's going to be between he and Harry Mackay. What I like about Charlie, and I have mentioned this a couple of times, is the fact that when the Blues are in a little bit of bother or they just want to shut up shop for the last 3 minutes of the quarter, they often send him down back and he can get a nice cheeky contested intercept mark as well. So yeah, I'm a fan of Curnow or Mackay. Not sure which one. Definitely won't be the both of them. It will be one or the other. It may depend on value or a lot of things, but I will be planning to get one of those blokes off just to finish the forward line. They've both got a nice ceiling as well. An absolute luxury would be to have them as your, say, F7 type pick. Bring them on or loop them on when you get one of those big scores. That'd be really nice. Baker is a bit of a pod pass for me. You can see Bob the Builder there because he is Mr. Fix-It. Been getting a pretty good role lately, but who knows what's going to happen with him. Was out the week before. Don't know if he's back this week. Poor old JD. Really feel for my brother there, but just not at the moment for Baker, I don't think. I'll quickly skip the next two. Bolton down the bottom. I've warned everyone, if you've watched a stock market video for the last, 3 to 4 years, it's always been the same story with this bloke. Such a low floor, such a big ceiling, but the last 3 weeks have been super disappointing. His floor has really come to the floor. So with that break even of 166, check out his 3-rounder. We could get this bloke around the 400k mark. And I tell you what, once he does get to 400k, that's when I'll start to become interested because we know that he'll give us some duds, but we know what he is capable of. So definitely on the watch list for mine, but you can see the roller coaster is heading down. I've even chucked the poo symbol there. And I do feel for my man Crazy Frogs, Jules, because he is a Bolton owner. But again, Jules, you did get the highs of this pick, mate, so congrats for that, brother. And did actually captain him on one of his really big weeks. Now, I'll go back up to the Reed and 5 selections because lots of people looking to sell this week. Now, I do have the double symbol there. I've got the sell symbol there as well as the chop symbol, but I do have the binoculars. If you've got faith that these guys can come back, then I think you can hold. There is a world there, but with Harley Reid, he's not getting much help in the midfield at the moment, particularly with Elliot Yeo out. The worst thing in the world was Simo giving him a rest. That was my rant on the Swordplay potty this week because we saw that beautiful 140 plus. really spiked him up. We're thinking possible keeper here. Then we've just seen 2 of his lowest scores for the year. So super disappointing from Harley. But again, he is a young man. He is a rookie. He's more than done his job, made us some really nice coin, over 200k by now. The break even really scares me though. If you give us another 50 type, that break even gets even higher the week after, and just not good. This could be a mini disaster. So I'm probably getting out of Dodgeville while I can. I'm a little bit more confident on Nat 5. Now, this sounds a little bit funny, I know, but if you compare Reed, he is 443, so actually making more cash here. With 5, I just see him being able to reset this. So for me, and you could be in a completely different situation, and I get that if you've got a different opinion to me, but I'm going to hold 5. I think he's got a really nice buy. I'm going to use him as cover through those buys, and I think by the end of that period, he will most likely look to reset. I don't see him getting rested before the buys. He'll obviously have that rest during the buy, then maybe come out and play solid football or solid game time for, let's just say, the next month. So I really like the idea of holding him for now. Again, if you want to get rid of him, I think that is absolutely fine, because look, that break even, it's 150. You're pretty much going to get rid of him this week or commit to hold until, I'd say, let's just say round 16 or round 15. So for me, I'm a hold, but if you want to sell, feel free to do it. Again, that season best game, then they give him the sub roll for 17. Last week, he actually played pretty well, but gave away so many frees, particularly in that first quarter, which killed his scaling. So I'm hoping to see the best from Nat 5. Come on, son, deliver against the Saints this week for us, mate. And we'll finish off with the forwards under 250k. Thanks very much for sticking with me as always. At the top of the list, this is my man, Brucey Boy, a cult figure already, an extremely versatile type player that can fill a hole wherever he's needed. A hard worker, good decision maker, possesses good vision, has handy DPP, and at a bargain basement price. And although he's got the first buy, he could fit your structure. The main issue here is his TOG, particularly in the match where we were decimated with injury against the Suns. In saying that, his points per minute are fantastic for a rookie. With versatility comes risk with the sub-vest, but it may also keep him away from the vest with the coaches knowing he can play different roles. As a linesman, I like him, but we do have the Baileys, the Dev Robos, almost fit and available. We'll also get 1 to 2 back after the buys, so there's no guarantee he keeps his spot, but if he does, he could be a really handy bench option. You can also flick him between your mids and your forwards. If he gets dropped, at least you'll have that flexibility with him. I've talked so much about him in my round review and the Swordplay pod already, so if you want some more detailed info, feel free to head there. But we do have a big decision this week. It's probably between Lockie Sullivan and my man Brucey Boy. So the choice is yours. I'm still on the fence, but as a Brisbane man, I would love to get Brucey myself. Finn McRae scored really well on the weekend against West Coast. Keep in mind West Coast with 93 points, but with previous scores of 28, 12, and 30, albeit sub-affected, and that's a very much a red flag in itself. I wouldn't select him at an inflated price, coupled with questionable job security. Cal Shadia is a great story. I used to watch the 1991 Grand Final on repeat on the old home tape VHS where his old man took home the normie. My old man was actually an old Hawthorn supporter, so had a real soft spot for the Hawks. Used to love Johnny Platten, Pritchard, Gary Ayres, Jeremy, all those sort of blokes. Yeah, had a real soft spot for the Hawks, and yeah, watch that on repeat. But unfortunately, young Dia is a bubble past me. As I said though, terrific story, and his old man would be watching up there in the sky very, very proudly of you. So well done, young man. Look, Paddy Voss, very much the same. Sub-risk, job security major issue here, so another bubble pass. Rolly Garcia has been a really nice rookie selection for those that did go there. Scores of 82, 64, 66, and 84 in his first game, 4 games, sorry. Yeah, that's really nice. But he has had a bit of an easy fixture. He's played the Saints, Dockers, Hawks, and Tigers so far. The next month will really put him to the test, with his next 4 opponents being the Giants, Swans, Pies, and Lions. So a hold, but not a buy. I think the ship sailed on Sonzi as a trade-in, but hold if you own. My mate Logie Morris came in as a late sub in his first game after eating a large Macca's meal and a cup of soup. What a story, what a debut. I forget how many Ks it was that he ran, but that was just phenomenal from the young man. I actually wrote about him in the Herald Sun earlier on the year, as I thought Lions got a real steal with Morris, but with other options such as Brucey's teammate, he isn't really relevant selection at the moment, but don't be surprised to see Logie kick a mini bag against the Tigers at the Gabba. if you can, that spike score remain in his system for the next couple of rises. So you could actually consider him as a pod rookie, but I think there are a few safer options. And it was really good to see Hugo punch out a 65 on the weekend. That'll keep his cash gen flowing, and that came at a really nice time. Another hold, but not a buy. I have heard whispers, so he may be omitted or even given a bit of a rest. So keep very much a watch on the team sheets for this week. So that's it for now, guys. All the best with your trade ins and your trade outs, and I'll see you soon in the next one. All the best. Bye.